One Star Rewind.
All right, everybody, welcome back to One Star Rewind, where we interview businesses and talk about the awful one-star reviews that we get. We got an amazing guest today. We got Katie in here from Glass Phoenix down here in downtown Waco. Katie, welcome to
Thanks,
One
man.
Star. Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I tell a little bit of the backstory as we were talking when I was trying to invite you? So, you know, I get on like Google and I'm on Yelp and I'm just looking at companies that I was like, oh, I would love to bring them in here and then see if they have 1-stars, right? So you didn't. Glass Phoenix had no 1-stars.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's great as a business. But I was like, shoot, I can't bring them on. But sometimes I don't see where they're all at. Like I just look at like Yelp or Google.
Right.
So I still shot you a DM on Instagram, was like, hey, I want to bring you on. And then you said, love to, but we don't have any 1-stars.
And at the time,
you had no 1-stars.
yeah.
And I legit like awful jinxed it because
you did. That's all on you, man.
You legit, that's all on me. It's on me. I take the hit. You hit me up like a week later, or I don't know how long it was.
It was a couple weeks.
And you were like, dude,
hey, guess what, man?
Hey, we just got a 1-star. I was like, no freaking way. And I felt terrible.
Yeah.
But now I get to have you on. So.
Yeah, no, it happens. And I was surprised that, being that we're a business that's been open for 3.5 years and we haven't had any until about, 4 months ago?
Sure.
We got our first one.
Yeah.
Sorry it took so long to get in, by the way.
I know.
Our schedules kept conflicting.
The schedules are pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So no, I'm glad it worked out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, okay, Katie. So tell me, how did you get in, or how did you start working at Glass Phoenix? And then tell us about Glass Phoenix.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually worked with Clint, our owner, over at Milo. He was doing a little bit of consulting on their bar area when they first opened.
Okay.
And I had just moved back to town because I went to UNT for college,
Cool.
right?
Yeah.
So I moved back to town in I think it was 2018.
Right.
And I got a job there as a bartender.
Sure.
I was highly overqualified, but
but you're like, let's just do it.
I was just like, yeah, let's go. So me and Clint met up, and he was talking about how he was building out a smoke shop, and it took forever. Like everything took so long.
Sure.
You know, it felt like he'd be like, yeah, it'll be like next month, and it was like 2-3 months.
It takes forever.
So finally, he's a week out, and he's like, hey, do you want to come in and see the new shop? And I was like, hell yeah, man. Like, I've been waiting for this for like 6 months.
Sure, yeah.
Point,
You've been talking about it for so long.
I'm lit. Is it really here?
Let's go.
It,
Sure.
And so we came in, and I, started unpacking stuff, helped set up the system and things like that. And it was, at first, I've been a smoker for a long time, so obviously smoke shop.
Sure.
It was a nice transition there because one of the things that most people who smoke hate is the fact that you have to get drug tested everywhere you go.
Everywhere,
right?
Yep.
So easy transition there. Don't have to worry about that.
Yep.
But yeah, so I get in, we unpack everything, we price everything, it was a blast. It was a good old time.
That's cool. Yeah.
And it just kind of took off from there. We kind of let the community tell us exactly what they wanted to see in the store.
Sure.
We started really small with not a lot of products, and eventually it kind of grew to this thing where it's like, I can't tell you how many wholesalers we have. I can't tell you how many products we have. I'd say well over 5,000 different products.
Jeez.
Right.
What's like is there like a number one product? Like, is there like just something that's clearing above
I would say
the most bought?
So it's kind of hard to break down because there's so many different cannabinoids,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
But Delta 8 took Texas by storm about 2.5 years ago. My timeline might be a little off, but that's when I remember seeing it.
Yeah.
And at first, when we first opened, it was all nicotine disposables, and like every now and then you get people in for glass, right?
Yes.
Because you don't break your pipe all the time.
Yeah.
Things like that. It takes a while for you to need a piece.
Yeah.
But now it's all D8. It's like 60% D8 or D10, THCO, THCP, THCV, HHC.
Yeah.
So there's 156 cannabinoids. So whole wide world to choose from. But of course, people are coming in more to get what they want in a safe way rather than getting off the street.
Yeah, makes sense.
And so that's where the majority of the money's coming in.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, and I think it's fascinating you bring up the glass side because it's obviously it's in the name.
Yeah.
And when I came in, and again, I think y'all had been maybe open a week or two, like it was brand new. And anytime something new kind of opens up downtown, it's like, oh, I want to go check it out.
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
And so, but you walk in and it's like a gorgeous store, first off, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just, when you compare it to other smoke shops in town or even just other ones in other parts of the country, like Glass Phoenix is like art. Right when you walk in, it's beautiful.
That's the goal, really, is to make the smoke shop industry a little bit more approachable.
Yes.
Not that shady shop on the corner, that
sure.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what Clint was trying to do with the build out of the space. He did an absolutely amazing job. I'm sad he was trying to get here today, but he works all day at one of the shops.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Yeah.
But yeah, so he even did like the floors with an acrylic pour to make it look like a galaxy.
Okay.
Which was kind of a cool idea. And then it's such an old building too. Like the doors are like over 100 years old.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like cavernous in a way.
Yes.
So it kind of gives you that homey like feeling. And I've noticed since we've opened the second shop, right, that it's actually kind of crazy how the old shop takes people longer to get through because it's kind of more like that antique shop feel where you're just like, I want to look at everything.
Yeah,
you know? Whereas the other one's a little bit more clinical. It's more clean, more modern.
Where's the other one at?
Oh, you haven't seen the new shop?
No, where's that?
So this is actually the review.
Oh, this review we're going to read from
the
there?
new shop.
Oh.
Yeah. And so the new shop's over in Hewitt. It's only been open like 7 months.
Oh, dang. Oh, interesting. Okay, good context there.
Which
I had no idea.
is a huge deal, right? If you've only been open a short amount of time, pivoting back to the review, right?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Then we have 2 what they call recommended reviews. I'm gonna put that in major quotes if you guys are listening to this and not not watching it.
Yeah,
because,
read this one.
Yeah. So with Yelp, they have all of your reviews and then they have the recommended reviews. In order to see all the reviews, you have to go down to the bottom of the recommended reviews and click a button, which nobody does.
Nobody does.
Right?
They're just going to read the top 10 or whatever the recommended
and so
ones
what's
are. Sure.
frustrating about Yelp is you can have so many authentic, not even like I'm trying to get you to give me a review kind of thing happen for a business that's, as conscientious about customer service and things like that as we are. Yeah. They won't recommend them. Yeah. They'll say they're not real because the person doesn't spend enough time on Yelp or doesn't do this or, they have all these qualifications. Yeah. But then the people that, kind of like this review, we can get into it.
Yeah, yeah.
The people like Brandon here, which, no animosity towards the guy. It's just like you look at all of his other reviews and you're like, are you okay?
Are you mad about something else in their life?
Who hurt you? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Who hurt you?
Yeah, who offended you?
That was my first thought because he just seems like he's got like this chip on his shoulder.
Yeah. Come on, Brandon.
So it's like, why are these reviews recommended and the ones that are good for me are not?
Yeah.
Right?
Yelp is such this thing, right? And then when they really dove into, you can run ads on Yelp. So if a company pays X amount, we'll do some sponsorship for you.
And
but it seemed it would affect.
If you pay enough, you can get the bad reviews taken down. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of like they're the mafia.
They're the mafia.
And you didn't choose for Yelp to be a thing, right?
No.
It just
is.
Lists you.
Yeah, it just lists you. It's just like, what? I didn't do any of this. It's like, no, Brandon wanted to blast me.
I mean, and most people do, once you've been in business long enough, you set up your own Yelp because you have to have a semblance of control.
Yeah, because people, and they want to look you up, and if you don't even have one, good or bad, they're like, do they exist? Is this real? Am I gonna get?
They're not on Yelp.
Shot when I come in here? Yeah.
See, I don't worry about Yelp as much as Google in that sense because people aren't on Yelp as much as they are on Google, right? And the cool thing about Google is I don't think they have like recommended reviews. No. I think it's just all the reviews.
Yeah, it's just all
the
reviews.
Which I appreciate about them.
Yeah.
And it's definitely less mafia style. I can't tell you how many times Yelp has called me trying to get me to advertise with them. Yeah. Trying to get a Yelp person off the phone.
Yeah, it's relentless.
I'm like, you realize I'm the only one here trying to work, and I don't think they do realize. No. Like in the smoke shop industry, it's very low key. Like, typically don't need more than 1 to 2 employees.
Yeah, to keep it going.
2 if it's like 420.
So they're always calling you. Yeah, if it's 420. If you're super busy. But they have that. It's like San Francisco area code, right? So every time I see that, I'm like, I'm not picking that up. There are a few times where I've missed.
It tells us it's Yelp, but then I feel rude not answering the phone.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just like.
Do you ever
the
try to like stump them? like try to say something that like gets them like so they don't know what to say?
Oh, I sometimes if I have like a spare hour where I'm not doing anything, I'll just talk to them for like an hour to waste their time.
That's glorious. Maybe we'll get Yelp to sponsor the podcast. That makes a lot of sense.
We've used like the free credit that they give you,
sure.
But it didn't make a huge difference.
No.
And every time we've paid for it at our other shops in Austin, like it didn't make a difference.
Yeah, it's really not. Like, Google's where you at. All right, Katie. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Ready to read the review?
Go.
Okay, we're gonna do a little rewind.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay, Brandon J. We've mentioned his name several times already, but so y'all know it's Brandon. 4 months ago, he left this review. Now knowing this is the Hewitt shop.
Yeah.
So not the downtown Waco.
Well, the irony was he wasn't at the Hewitt shop. He just left it on that page.
Oh.
He was actually at the downtown shop, which I had to figure out by going back through the schedule and being like, who was working this day?
Yeah.
Asking all the employees, like, do you remember this guy?
And then it was actually the other place.
And it was
downtown, but left it for the. That's even more confusing. Okay, so here we go, line by line. I'm just gonna read the whole thing, then we'll deep dive.
Yep.
The staff member I encountered knows nothing of the product she is selling. It was awkward and slightly embarrassing trying to deal with her. She ended up just stating to go to the other location, which is not convenient at all. Probably not who I would have as the face of my business. Bad customer service is bad for business. Okay, and then who would have thunk it? But I have to spell this out.
Yeah.
It's like who, and then the letter D, letter A. So Huda, is that Huda?
Huda.
Thunk, THUN, kit, thunk it. So it pretty good. Usually the first thing we talk about is just the grammar of a review.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad.
That made me a little happy because I do judge people. I'm a grammar Nazi.
Me too.
And he had,
if you're misspelling words, if it doesn't make any sense, like it's like
I don't know how to spell Huda thunk it. So like,
but really,
good on him because phonetically it's correct.
Totally. He throws the comma in there. Huda thunk it. Question mark, exclamation point. So, all right, Katie, first line out of this. The staff member I encountered knows nothing of the product she is selling. Does that, why would he lead with that? Does he think he knows more than the smoke shop employee? Like what, so he must.
To me, it sounds like somebody who's very familiar with the business.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And it also sounds like somebody smokes a lot, goes to visit a lot of different smoke shops, right?
Yep.
Which was kind of like my first, like, is this guy like a competitor?
Yeah.
Kind of moment.
Totally.
But then you see where he's from, and it's like a completely different city. Now, a lot of times people don't update their Yelp page when they move somewhere.
True.
So
true.
I don't
so
know.
So he could live here. And you had told me earlier he has left multiple reviews for other smoke shops, and they're all pretty bad. Right?
Yeah, there was one good one.
One good one.
Actually, there were like. He did like 7. I could be quoting this wrong because I haven't looked at the page in like 4 months. But he did like 7 like really bad reviews and then like 3 good ones or something like that.
Okay, so he's a little bit all over the place.
But it was like in some of the reviews he's talking about how people are judging him because he's Latino and like stuff like this, and it's just like. He did it so many times where I'm like, are people really that racist? Or is it just like you have this chip on your shoulder for some reason?
And it may be that.
It could be.
So like the onboarding process, the hiring process at Glass Phoenix, I would imagine, and maybe not, and you can correct me, but like to work there, you probably have to know something about the products you're selling, right? Or is it purely like, hey,
not always
have good customer service, we'll train you, we'll teach you the rest?
So the main thing for me when we're putting in someone new is trust. You're working solo. You're working by yourself.
Sure,
It's very hard to have an inventory system in a smoke shop setting because you get things that have to be replaced.
Okay.
Right? So we have a swap out policy, which most people don't have.
Okay.
So trying to account for all of that between both stores would be a nightmare. It's not worth your time.
It would be a nightmare.
Right?
You're right.
So with over 5,000 products, again, it's very trendy in the smoke shop business. So stuff will get out of season and you're like, oh, no one's going to buy that again.
Yeah.
So you bring in new stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to keep up with all the SKUs.
Sure.
Pretty much impossible, right?
Really tough, yeah.
So my thing that I look for with a new employee is just... Can they speak to a customer?
Yeah.
Right? Do they have a general knowledge of customer service?
Sure.
And then on top of that, are they trustworthy? Right? Can I trust them to be in store and not steal products? Can I trust them to be in store and not take cash and not actually enter it into the register? Right? There's so many loopholes when you're working by yourself with no supervision.
Yeah,
right?
You're right. You're right. And I think that's honestly the best mentality because you can train up somebody on like what to say and how to describe a product, but like if they don't got that thing about them where they're greeting people and they're just like friendly,
Yeah.
it's. I mean,
And sometimes it takes people a while to get comfortable in the setting. So that's what a lot of people don't realize. Like, actually the employee in question, because it took me a while to figure out who it was. Okay. I knew it wasn't me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It wasn't you. It wasn't you.
I was like, I never would have told somebody to go to the other store without trying to make sure I had something for them there.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah. Well,
I also am the one in the store who knows the most about the product.
I was going to say, you probably would know.
Unlikely to be me.
Yeah, you would know some things.
I thought real hard. I was like, definitely not.
Yeah. Well, you alluded to it. You said it's kind of like an environment they have to get comfortable in, right?
Right, absolutely.
So, boom, transition into sentence 2. It was awkward and slightly embarrassing trying to deal with her.
Yeah.
So like you're mentioning kind of that maybe they felt uncomfortable or like
right. So when you're first starting out as an employee, you kind of have to start taking ownership of the space that you're in, especially when working solo, because like we deal with homeless people, we deal sometimes with people who are aggressive, and you're all by yourself, right? And a lot of us are female on staff, so it's kind of one of those things where like you have to be in the space long enough to kind of take a little bit of ownership, and then be like, nah, this is mine. You're not gonna mess with me, right? Yeah. And not also in that like kind of defensive way, but also just like, I know everything about this space. I'm comfortable in it.
Yeah, for sure. Would you say it takes longer to get comfortable in the downtown location over the Hewitt one, or does it matter?
So the downtown one, the reason we train people at the downtown location is because we have a lot of regulars. Okay. And 9 times out of 10, they already know what they want. Yeah. Right? At the new shop, we had a lot of people that were coming in, had never, heard of D8 before, had never had those conversations. So to have those kind of more complicated conversations about glass or about Delta 8 and other cannabinoids, we figured all the newer customers are going to be going to the new shop. Yeah, that makes sense. So you'd have a little bit more time to figure out what you're doing at the old shop. Okay, right? That's cool. Okay, so different locations. I would imagine the feel is different. Hewitt different than, and for people that don't know Waco, Hewitt, Woodway is kind of the suburb of Waco. Yeah, downtown Waco. Families. Yeah, little different locations. So, okay, line 3. She ended up just stating to go to the other location. So, to give the context, this person was at which location? This was the Right, so they're at the downtown location. They're at downtown. Where we were training. She says go to Hewitt. Right. Which is why he left the review for Hewitt, even though the incident or whatever he's talking about happened downtown. Absolutely. Okay. And so when I talked with our employee, what she kind of explained was, she was like, he was asking a lot of things about glass that like I wasn't aware of. And so I kind of like just told him, he was like, we have more of that kind of stuff at the other shop. Sure. And so, and I get that, and I don't know how exactly it was phrased or anything like that, but that was kind of the gist of what she was saying. Gotcha. That makes sense. And it probably came off awkward, judging by his review. Definitely. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, to his credit, like, that would frustrate me as well. Yeah. But I'd also, as somebody working in the customer service industry, notice that it was a new employee. Well, yeah, so sure. Like, cut him some slack. To me, it's like I'd cut him a little slack. Right? I do think it's nice that she at least gave the option, like, it. Right. To him, it sounds like she's just like, I don't want to deal with you. Go to the other location. Exactly. But at least it could have been worse. She could have been like, I don't know. Right, and that's the worst thing you can say, and I hate that. Yeah. I always tell people, like, first thing when I'm training them, the one thing you don't want to say is, I don't know. Oh, totally. You can say, I'm not sure. Let me find out. That's a much better answer. Yes. Let me call the other store real quick. Yeah. I just started last week. Yes. Whatever. Right. Yeah. And that happens like even like and it's pretty smooth if you state it up front. You're blunt. You're honest with it. That's kind of standard. Like even some like retail shops. We don't have it like in a bigger city. They'll be like, hey, we don't have it at this location, but there's another location across town. Let me call them. They might have the pants you're looking for. Yeah, and that's what when I was looking at this, I was like, that would be the only reason I send anyone to the shop. Like, if we don't have it. Only thing. Right, and I know they've got it. Yes. So. Okay, next section, super quick, but which is not convenient at all. So they're referencing, she says, go to the other location. He's then saying, which is not convenient at all. In our Waco world, sure, a 10, 12-minute drive. To us, it's not. It's like, come on. So you're downtown, you go down Austin, you get on 17th or 18th, you go down Franklin or Waco Drive, and you just hit 84. Like
I get it. If you're very time crunched and you're maybe already...
Oh, I would be like, putting myself in his shoes, I would absolutely be frustrated with the situation.
Yeah.
If I was looking for something very, very specific, especially high-end glass type thing.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of people in the heady culture. I don't know if you've experienced that at all.
A little bit, yeah.
There's people that are really into their glass, and they'll pay $10,000 for
definitely
a specific kind of pipe. You know?
That makes sense.
But we don't cater to them mostly because there's not that many in Waco.
Yeah. It's kind of that niche market that we don't have enough people here. This line in all these reviews we've read through all these different businesses, there's like the moment where you can sense the emotional frustration, like the
he's frustrated.
Emotional damage here. This is like, which is not, he didn't have to put that in. He could have just said,
it was a little bit funny. Yeah. So I kind of appreciated it. Yeah. It's kind of like, I never would have written that out.
I know. Just he wants everybody to know. Not convenient. Okay, next line. Probably not who I see, now I'm messing it up. Probably not who I would have had as the face of my business. So again, trying to play business owner. Brandon's frustrated here. It's not convenient. I got to the other store. Now I'm going to slam your hiring choice because this is not who I would have as the face of my business. Now, it's a little...
To be fair, it was her second week.
It's second week. You know what I mean? Second week,
right? With over 5,000 products.
With over 5,000 products. I was going to say that. There's a lot of products to wrap your head around. And I feel like at the end of the day, trying to help the customer in the best way she could was, hey, just go to the other location.
Yeah.
But yeah, are you feeling like when you hire people, do you tell them like, hey, you're gonna, like you said, you're working solo. You're kind of the face of Glass Phoenix for that day. Yeah. Do you talk about that with them?
Absolutely.
Or is
that, yeah. I do role play scenarios with them because I can tell you the top 10 things that are asked for on any given day.
Yeah.
And so I'll basically run those scenarios with them. I'm the customer. I'm coming in. You tell me about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think the thing is they're a lot more comfortable with me than probably some random stranger.
Sure.
And so sometimes the regurgitation of information, right?
Yeah.
You all learned it in high school, right?
Yeah.
You read something, regurgitate it.
Yeah.
Read something, regurgitate it.
For sure.
A lot of the information is regurgitated because you're having to learn, and there's no way for you to test all the products in that amount of time.
Yeah.
Right.
No way.
And I do encourage testing the products, trying the Delta 8, so you can give people an idea of what the feel is.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you can't test every pipe out.
Oh my gosh, like you'd be still doing that right now.
Yeah, the water function and figuring out like what does this perk actually do. So it's a little bit more technical, and there's no way to cram that in. It's just something where you kind of have to throw them in the fire and see how they do.
Sure, yeah. Right? And this is an instance. Not assuming Brandon isn't a business owner. He may own his own smoke shop. I'm not sure, but if he did own a business. And he understands this person's new right second week, like you do cut him a little slack, right? It is intimidating when somebody comes into your business, or if I'm working somewhere and they know more about the product than I do.
Oh yeah, it's a little embarrassing.
It is a little embarrassing.
Yeah, it's a little embarrassing because you're like, oh, this person really knows, and the majority of people walking in don't, right? Yes. So she hadn't had that experience yet.
Yeah, and so I think again he's been a little hard on them, but that was his experience. But I'm just, it is when you're working solo, you're kind of like the Glass Phoenix rep for that day. Yeah, which is interesting. Okay, final line, which I think is the best one. He just says it. Bad customer service is bad for business. Okay, sure. And then
Who'da thunk it?
How do I say it? Who'da thunk it? Who'da thunk it? So kind of throwing that like little sarcastic thing at the end, like, oh, duh, bad for business is bad customer service, duh, So do you think that again was like this? He genuinely like let's try to play the scenario out. He comes in, she says go to the other store. He's frustrated. He goes to his car, leaves the review. Does he ponder it that day? Leaves it that night?
I'm not sure.
In the heat of the moment, I'm thinking it happened like an hour after it happened.
I think he probably did it pretty quickly. I've had one moment where I've written a bad Yelp review. It was actually pretty funny. I did a 1-star review myself. We can get into it if you would like.
Do you know who you left it for?
It was a gas station near my parents' house in Cedar Park because they told me to go get a margarita mix.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
And I go, and margarita mix is literally lime juice and sugar.
Pretty much,
I'm 20 at the time.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Okay. So I try to get it, and the guy checked me out.
Yeah.
would not sell it to me without an ID. And I was like, what are you IDing me for?
Sugar?
This is lime juice and sugar, and my parents asked me to get it. Like, what is wrong with you, bro?
And he wouldn't let you get it?
He wouldn't let me get it. And I just, like, I left the longest review, like, how stupid this human is, right? I was livid.
That'll be like when I'll have people come back and we'll talk about reviews you've left for people, and we'll still rewind on those.
Emotional,
it was emotional.
It was emotional. I was pissed. It was inconvenient.
Yes.
Right? Which I get. I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. It just, there's either the long, detailed reviews where you can sense they're just like so passionate about, I want to destroy this business.
Mine was a little bit longer than this.
A little bit longer than this one. This is a good, this is that medium range.
It's not too bad.
You can still sense the frustration there. So, customer service, I know, is huge in any industry. I think people, if they are an accountant, they probably think, I don't need customer service. Everybody needs some sense of it. And so he just wants to throw that final little jab with the knife. Now, look at this bad customer service they have here. Who would have thunk it? So, okay, you read this review, or do you remember when you read it? After it was his next day.
I have it in my text messages.
You have it in text messages?
No.
Okay. I mean, was it like fire alarm goes off? I
probably didn't read it the next day. It was probably a couple days later.
Okay.
I read them every so often.
Sure.
So it's not like often that I like, especially with Yelp. I'll check Google a lot more than
Yelp.
Yeah. I think Google also sends me like a notification.
They do.
But I get like 300 emails a day.
Yeah,
so it's like
if
I see it, I'm going to look at it.
Well, and you've had an amazing track record, right? I think this is still the only.
We haven't had any problem. And so what's crazy about this review, right, is it's the second one that's recommended. So there's actually, I think, 5 reviews. One of them was taken off by a guy named Mike Swede. And it said it was inappropriate. So I don't know what that one said.
Interesting.
There was another guy that actually took a shot at this Brandon. It was a different Brandon who was like, don't listen to that other Brandon.
Oh, nice.
So it's
I like that.
Funny, but it also is not recommended.
Okay.
And then there was a third 5-star. So all the ones that were not recommended, 5-star reviews.
5-star reviews.
But this one brings our rating down to 3 because there's only a 5-star and a 1-star.
Oh. You take the average, it's the 3. That's so lame.
So let's talk about the damaging effects of a 1-star review. Right?
Please.
We haven't really gotten into that.
Let's get into it.
So when you get a lower ranking, you don't pop up on the top of the feed, right? And most people don't scroll. Most people don't even go past the sponsored results, right?
No.
A lot of people don't realize if you Google something or if you Yelp something, the top like 3 to 10, depending on how many people really want to sponsor, result are actually ads, and it'll say that it's an ad.
It does,
right?
Yeah.
But you have to be paying attention. And so a lot of people don't realize, like, we don't advertise even on our downtown location, which has 5 stars still.
Sure.
We don't, which is funny because again, this one should have been on that on that business.
Should be on that
it should be on that business, right?
Yeah.
That location actually, you know, it's crazy to me because the 5-star reviews, like even the non-recommended ones, there's all more 5-star reviews. We don't have any non-recommended reviews that are negative.
Yes.
So you notice that pattern little bit, and you're like, so why is it that only the good ones don't show up?
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of that power play with Yelp.
It is. They want you to pay. They want you to do it. So have you? Okay, so you're looking at the rankings, and like you were describing, in Yelp, you hit those ads, and then it goes into that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever.
Right.
Where do you know?
So right under the sponsored results, we pop up on that one 5 stars.
Yeah, sure.
Right, I don't know where we are on this one now. I haven't checked in a while because that 3-star ranking just puts you way down. Below
I know
everybody else.
So Glass Phoenix, so Clint, are these his only 2 smoke shops, or is
for Clint, yes, we actually have some other owners that are like silent partners in that, and they own 3 more smoke shops in Austin called Wizard's Hat.
Okay, right? So would this be considered a franchise, or is this its own
partnership?
Yeah. Okay, so that's that, and that's why.
But Clint's typically the only one that's directly over it. The guys come in every 2-3 times a year,
just to kind of check on things or to say hi. So like, you know, you look at you pick stuff like Chick-fil-A for whatever. They have, you go through, they have a ton of bad reviews, but they have so many because there's this big corporation.
Right, so it outweighs the others. If you've only got like a few
2 reviews
recommended,
1 and a 5-star, and it's 3. So like these like small business or ma and pa shops or family owned, however you want to phrase it, people don't, and I get it, customer service, all these things, we understand, Brandon, but like the effect it has is more damaging than just his feelings here, and I get it. He needs an outlet for it, and that's why there are review systems.
Well, and the algorithm makes it really difficult too. So even if you want to try to negate these negative reviews, if Yelp receives too many reviews in one day or a week even outside of the norm, then they consider it a not recommended review. They're thinking that you're fishing for 5-star reviews. Right? Which is, I get it.
Yeah, sure. It makes sense.
Do that.
Yeah,
they'll offer like discounts or different things.
Yeah.
I think we did that one time and we quickly realized, it doesn't matter.
No, don't do that.
We tried to do it one time because we were just like, we were very new and nobody had really reviewed us. So we were like, well, let's give people like half off of vape. Or something. And then we realized it didn't matter because
it doesn't matter
because you're just gonna have them go to non-recommended.
Totally. And then you get some people, if that the one I always am fearful of, and when I see other people's reviews, is like, if the reply says, hey, hit us back and we'll give you a discount, or we're sorry this happened, we'll give you a refund or something. The minute you put that out in the world, which is totally viable, and maybe you reach out to them privately.
You can direct message.
Yeah, you can direct message. But if you put that, people are like,
people take advantage.
Oh, I'm only one star then because I'm going to get a free whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like,
you're definitely backing yourself into a corner
for sure
when you do that.
For sure. Okay, Katie, we always, any final thoughts before we do how we end it? Before how we end the pod?
No. I think we covered pretty much everything.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, I want to say that the employee did learn from this, which was one of the positives.
Sure.
That would be my only thing
That's
that
big.
We didn't really talk about. She... Actually, it's funny. Every time I walk in on shift now, I find her researching one of the products.
Oh, cool.
Because I think she took it a little personally, which is, good for growth.
Yeah.
But, before that, she was a bartender. So she kind of had very short conversations with people where it was like, what do you want?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to go get it, Or, the most you might explain something is the beer fridge.
Sure.
Right?
Yes, that's totally what it is. What are these IPAs here? Okay, let me
it's
tell
like,
you
what does each one taste like? Which one's the best?
For sure.
What do you recommend?
Yeah.
But you don't have to get into the science of things.
No, you don't.
Which gets a little bit more complex. And people don't realize that smoke shops are kind of turning into pharmacies.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
That's what it is, man. Yeah, we'll go.
I have people with fibromyalgia, MS, autism, cancer. Like they're coming in, they're asking me about combinations on medications. I'm 26 years old, so I'm like Googling my ass off, right?
Just to give them.
But I shouldn't be the one answering these questions, right?
Oh my gosh. Would this mix well with what I'm taking from the doctor?
Right. Just so you guys know, if you combine CBD with an antidepressant, you can get headaches.
Yes.
So it's like
maybe go to this other location called the hospital, and maybe they'll help.
And
you.
it's also based on your biochemistry. So obviously, everybody's body's different.
Sure. There's a lot to it.
You kind of have to be that disclaimer, like we're not approved by the FDA. I'm not a doctor. But this is how I would recommend using this product.
And that's good. That could be a crazy 1-star review if they were trying to say, they were giving me medical advice and they didn't. But I think people are genuine
don't
about
care,
it. Yeah.
But the state cares.
The state would care. I think the state
cares.
That's probably true.
Right? People are like, does it work?
Yeah. Is this helping me? Not sure. Okay, Katie. We always end with this. So pretend I'm Brandon.
All right.
I'm Brandon J. I don't want to be Brandon, but I'm Brandon. If you had to say something to me, what would you say to Brandon right now? If you could say one thing to him in reference to this review.
Did you not know she was new? I don't. Because to me, it's obvious if you've ever worked in the industry, ever.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You can tell when somebody's new. You cut them a break.
Sure.
Right? It might be a little bit annoying, but I can always tell when someone's new. So to me, it's just a perception thing. Like I pick up on it.
Yeah.
So
no, I think that's wise.
Yeah.
We'll see if Brandon, maybe Brandon will listen to this and he'll reply to it or something. He'll be like, I didn't know she was new.
I thought about reaching out directly to him, but I was like, I really don't know if there's a point. I really don't know if there's a point on this one.
We had somebody give an idea for this pod, and it was like we turn this into like a Jerry Springer, where you don't know we're bringing them in, but then we bring Brandon in about halfway through, and we have maybe someday we'll
would be really funny though.
Yeah, we'll spring that on.
It would be especially because I never met the guy.
Yeah.
So I feel bad that he didn't have the experience with me too.
Sure.
I gotta state that too because it's like
that's true.
If he had been with any of our other employees, even the other person that we hired at the same time, because we wanted to make sure we had a balanced staff, so we actually hired a guy that knows everything about glass. Like more than me. Yeah. Right?
That's good.
And so he was the other newbie, and if he had got the right newbie,
he would have been fine. It was a coin flip. Katie, thanks so much for coming in.
Absolutely.
Glass Phoenix, everybody. Check it out. Downtown and Hewitt. And Hewitt location.
Yeah, the Hewitt location is super dope. I definitely love it over there.
Cool.
I do think that the downtown location has more charm.
Sure. I would agree. Cool. All right. See you, Katie.
Yep. Have a good one.
Bye.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.